Hey.
New theme song is fantastic.
Wow.
I like it.
Here we are. Nesson.com's The Spread. This is, of course, Nesson.com's football picks video podcast. Always a mouthful. Always a delight. I'm Nesson.com's Mike Cole. That's Ricky Doyle. That's Andre Kachaturian. As always, we will run down the three biggest football games of the season, the week. Actually, you know what? A couple of these games might actually find its way on that list. Pretty good week this week. As we get into week 13, we'll give you all of our against the spread picks. Do a couple locks, a couple upsets, some show and tell, and then we'll get out of here. But before we get to week 13, we will look back to week 12. Where Andre hopefully has the records.
I have the records. I don't know if I have a graphic for the records, but
that's all right.
I have the records. The records, we all did kind of bad last week.
Yeah, it was a tough week.
Mike, you led the way with a 7-8-1 record.
I'll take that.
You are now in first place.
I am.
You did one game better than I did. I went 6-9-1. And Ricky, you also went 6-9-1, and you are still in last place. But this is where you heat up, Ricky. This is last 5 weeks of the season.
Yeah, he had a couple good weeks there.
When the weather gets colder, Ricky starts heating up.
Yeah, that's true. Or a ball-controlled offense.
Here are the standings. There we go. Yeah. So
back of the pack, but not by much.
No, we're only separated by 4 games. I saw this interesting website that compiles every sports website's picks except for ours.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I don't think we're on it.
And you know, we're like in the middle of the pack of that group. We're doing better than some sites, and we're not doing as good as other sites. But we're right in the pack. I feel like we influence each other's picks. That's why we're so close to each other.
So how do we get on that?
I was gonna say that should be the goal for.
To get on that.
Yeah, that should be the goal for 2018.
I'll email the editor of that website. What's it called?
That's whatever.
Right
I don't really
right
think it matters that much.
president.
See if you get us a sponsor while you're at it. Anyway, let's get into week 13, I guess.
NFLPickWatch.com.
So winning. This month, November.
I meant to look it up. It was
It's historic.
Vegas.
Here, wait, sorry. NFLPickWatch.com is what it is.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So
Bill Simmons.
Shouts out to them.
He stopped doing it after a while. He's only 26.
At least we're committed to the struggle over here.
Yeah. Anyway, continue. Sorry.
Yeah, we were trying to until you decided to. But as Ricky was saying, I'm going to look it up, see if I can find it anywhere. Ton of favorites have killed this week, or killed this season, really.
Yeah.
And then this week was looking like a terrible week for Vegas. Not that they have a lot of terrible weeks, but I think the Packers might have helped that out on Sunday night.
They saved them. It would have been twice as bad as is what I read if they didn't. The Packers didn't cover, but. Yeah, if you have hammering the favorites in recent weeks, then you've been cleaning up, and we haven't really been doing that. But
nope.
We had a couple good weeks in a row. But
I mean, we're doing better than Tim Collishaw of Dallas Morning News. He's always on around the horn.
Yeah,
he's 80 and 87. So we're all you're on like the same pace as Tim Collishaw.
If I'm not mistaken, Collishaw. This is week 11. That doesn't do us much good. I was looking for a little help from our friends at OddsShark, but. They will, as always, they'll get us the lines this week. Go check out oddshark.com for all your handicapping needs. They're the best.
Yes.
Oh, wait, week 12 here. Let me see. Underdogs, favorites, I think it was 12-3, not counting Monday night. So pretty impressive stuff. So, all right, first game of the week, we will start on Sunday. This is a Sunday afternoon game. The Minnesota Vikings, coming off of their Thanksgiving Day win over the Detroit Lions. Let's just spike that in the face of our commenters on YouTube, who were a little perturbed about us going against the Lions. The Vikings now have a tough one. They go on the road to take on the Atlanta Falcons, the upstart Atlanta Falcons. We talked about the Falcons a couple weeks ago, how they were starting to play better, continue to play well. Julio Jones had his big monster game. He's good for a few of those this season. They did let Tampa Bay get back in that game, but this is a potential playoff preview. Falcons, as it stands right now, according to OddsShark, are 3-point favorites at home against the Vikings. Ricky, why don't you start this?
I like getting points there. I'll take the Vikings. Been rolling. Not only have the Vikings been rolling just in terms of wins and losses, but they've been great against the spread.
Mm-hmm.
One of the best teams in the NFL as far as covering.
Zimmer's been for his entire career has been great.
Yeah, 8-3, best mark other than the Eagles, 6-0 against spread in their last 6. I like them getting points. I look at this matchup. I'm a big fan of the Falcons. I think they're coming on strong. I like them going into this season, but I think the Vikings have the type of ball control offense, keep that Falcons quick stride offense off the field, not let them get into a rhythm. And one area I look at too, Falcons and Vikings, 1-2 in third down offense Big difference though.
Yeah.
Vikings a top-ranked third down defense, so I think that could be a factor in this game. So I'll take the points that the team that's playing of two teams playing very well. I'd say the Vikings playing slightly better on both sides of the ball.
You stole my point.
More
Ricky.
likely to get to stop.
Yeah.
You stole my point, but that's okay. You're a good
Well,
man,
thank you.
and you can steal my points. I'm going to take the Vikings as well. You're looking at two teams. You keep both of you said like 8 times just now the Falcons are playing better football, but they really haven't been tested that much in the last 3 weeks. They played a Dallas team that didn't have Ezekiel Elliott. They played a banged-up Seattle defense, and then they played Tampa Bay. Now they have a tough test against the Vikings. Sure, the Falcons are at home, but the Vikings have had tougher competition lately, and they've succeeded. They just keep winning games.
Unbelievable.
What?
That's it.
Oh, I couldn't tell if you were being sarcastic. Vikings 8th in yards per play. Vikings are 8th in yards per play and 2nd in yards allowed per play. One of just 2 teams that are in the top 8th in both of those categories. The Eagles being the other team, and Case Keenum doesn't turn the ball over that much. Only 5 interceptions all year. He gets good protection. Falcons have a difficult time getting turnovers. You're giving me points. Vikings, give it. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll take the points as well. I'll take the Vikings. Big matchup in this game is going to be Xavier Rhodes, who had a nice day Thursday against the Lions. He's done a number on Julio Jones. The last 2 times these teams have met, Julio Jones in those 2 games is averaging just 69 yards receiving per game. The Vikings won both of those games. One of those games was a blowout. It was Atlanta was down like 3 offensive linemen. I think they had a backup tight end playing tackle, so maybe not the greatest indication. But this is guy Rhodes who's not going to be afraid of Julio Jones, even coming off that big week last week. I also look at Atlanta. This was an issue for them. I mentioned this last year leading up into the Super Bowl. Not a great tackling football team. They're last in the NFL last season in yards after catch allowed. They haven't been a whole lot better this year. They did a good job on Sunday against Tampa Bay, but more or less, they've struggled to give up yak, as it is. Now they have a guy in Adam Thielen who's ranked tied for 10th in yak, and Jerick McKinnon 13th in the entire league in yak. So I expect the Vikings to do a number, get these guys into space, let them make plays. There's probably going to be a couple big play potential there. I like that Falcons defense, but again, I can't say enough about how good of a job the Vikings have done at protecting Case Keenum. He's been sacked just 3 times combined in the last 4 Vikings road games. So. You say that the offensive line struggles on the road, but this Vikings one hasn't.
The Falcons defense, they got like all the speed in the world, but sometimes they just like run around like their pants are on fire.
And this is just anecdotal, but I wonder if that's just like an overcommit. Like they're almost too fast for their own good.
What I mean,
yeah.
Like you
hit the turbo button and you end up going just running right by them. Yeah.
Vikings, speaking of how hot they've been, to 83% in the red zone in the last 3 games, touchdown rate. And in the whole season, 4th in time of possession. Atlanta, 21st. So maybe that'll be a factor in this one.
So you mentioned Rhodes and how he's kind of, neutralized Julio Jones to some extent. The times they met before. He's done pretty well against some big name wide receivers this year too. Michael Thomas, 5 catches for 45 yards. Antonio Brown, 5 for 62. Mike Evans, 7 for 67. So, none of those guys who I would all consider elite wide receivers really did too much against Rhodes. So I guess it speaks to his level.
One thing about Keenum that interests me, especially I watched a lot of, I haven't watched a ton of Vikings this year, but I watched a lot of that game on Thursday. He's so good. Well, not so good. I don't want to overstate it, but like he can move around the pocket.
Yeah.
See him score that touchdown. He had 7 rushes for 20 yards, 3 rushes for 20 yards a week before. Kind of elusive guy, a different element back there. Maybe that's been part of the reason that the offensive line has looked better as well.
Shows how bad Jeff Fisher was.
Well, and like here's the thing, and a guy I follow is a Packers writer, Aaron Nagler. He always likes to say that, like, when people mention quarterback win-losses, it's a dumb stat because it's a team game. Yes. And, like, Case Keenum is, like, the perfect example of that, right? Where he just terrible records. His 2 stops before getting to Minnesota, now all of a sudden he's good. It's just, you got to have a good team, too.
Yes, he's not Aaron Rodgers, but he's also not.
No, he's played better, but they put him in a position to play better.
The guy protects the ball.
Yeah.
It's important.
The formula for that Vikings team is simple. It was the same. It was Sam Bradford last year. It was the same idea, and they were a good team. So. That's going to be a tough team in the playoffs.
Making himself a nice little paycheck, too, if he keeps this up.
Yep.
Sure. Yeah, the Bucks will pay for him.
And then he'll go to a bad team. Everybody will think he sucks again. It's kind of,
life of a journeyman.
Yep. All right. Also, Sunday.
Mike Glennon.
That's exactly what I was thinking of. It's Mike Glennon, too. Because he just got paid by Chicago. Now he can't play over Mitch Trubisky. But Sunday afternoon as well, this is a big NFC South matchup. The Carolina Panthers, fresh off of maybe there's no such thing as a bad win, and Cam Newton stressed that point at his post-game press conference. That might have been the worst win of the entire NFL season this year. They went on the road and beat the Jets despite all of their efforts to piss that game away. Luckily for them, the Jets were a little better hydrated and pissed even more. Now they have to go to New Orleans, take on the Saints. Saints coming back home after a tough loss. Banged up Saints team, down their 2 top cornerbacks, down a pass rusher, down an offensive tackle. Tough spot for the Saints, who are 4-point favorites here according to OddsShark. This is a huge game in the NFC South. Andre, what do you see this one shaking out?
Yeah, you talk about that Jets game against Carolina. The Panthers are down 20-18.
It was unbelievable. Yeah,
they get that. Cam Newton doesn't even touch the ball. He doesn't even smell the ball. The ball is so far away from him because he's on the sideline. He gets a defensive return for a touchdown, and then a punt return touchdown.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, he's up 32-20, and he gets a W. It reminds me a lot of his Super Bowl MVP season. We saw that happen so many times. What was it? NFC Championship game. He's up 14-0 without touching the ball in that year.
And they still almost lost that game.
It's unbelievable. Cam Newton has failed to crack the 60% mark.
Unbelievable.
In the last two seasons. 16 out of 26 times. He's failed to crack the 60% completion percentage mark. Drew Brees has completed 60% of his passes, 30 in the last 31 games. Talk about the accuracy differential. Probably the most accurate quarterback in NFL history going up against Cam Newton, who just not very accurate at all. We've talked about how the Saints have been successful despite Drew Brees this year. Alvin Kamara.
I've heard both.
I've heard both. You know what everyone sees though is the fact that since week 6 he leads the NFL in yards from scrimmage. They have Mike Ingram too. Which is unbelievable. Mark Ingram. Sorry. And the last time these two teams played. Hold on. The last time these two teams played, the Saints killed the Panthers. Kamara had 2 carries that game. Adrian Peterson had 9 carries in that game. Imagine Kamara's going to be more involved, being more involved in this game, obviously. So, Kamara 4th in yards from scrimmage in the whole season, Ingram 5th. I mean, in Carolina, the last 4 games, they beat the Jets, Dolphins, and the Bucks. 3 of those 4 games. They haven't really played anyone in particular.
Cam Newton, I want to give credit. Colin Coward, I was watching a show yesterday or Monday, mentioned this. Just unbelievable if you think about it. He completed, 11 of 28 passes? They still scored 35 points. That's unbelievable. Yeah. It doesn't happen very often. Ricky?
See, I don't know. I'm leaning towards taking the points, though. In spite of everything you said, because I look at that Saints defense in the last couple of weeks, not great. For a long time they were moving up the ranks, had really the best pass defense in the NFL between the weeks of 4 and 10. The second Marshawn Lattimore went down, that pass defense just changed the heartbeat. You mentioned down 2 cornerbacks. Without knowing their status, I find it hard to put too much stock into it, because I don't know what the defense is going to look like. I mean, you look at Alex Okafor going down for the season. Yeah. That hurts them both against the run and the pass. So
what other better way to get a good bounce back game than against Cam Newton? He was up against Goff last week, MVP candidate.
I just look at it. The defenses look suspect the last couple of weeks, and you give me. Listen. I think the Saints ultimately win this game, but I'm getting 4.5 points. What it's up to, or 4 points. I don't know. I think this is a field goal decides this one. I like it too. The Rams dominated that time of possession last week. Carolina, for as stagnant as their offense can be with Cam Newton, they control the clock. Best time of possession team in the NFL. So I think maybe they run it down.
Because they're not moving the football.
Cam Newton has a thumb problem too. He's a banged up thumb. Yeah. I mean, he's going to throw at least 4 interceptions this week.
Imagine the most inaccurate quarterback in the league with a bad thumb.
Yeah, come on, man.
Hey, they cover.
You don't even believe yourself. Look into my eye and say you believe the Panthers are going to cover. Look into my eye and say
the Panthers are going to cover.
All right, I'll give you at least credit.
From the guy who came on and said you didn't even have picks before you went on the show. I got all question marks, he said.
No, I got
all question marks.
That was a joke.
Yeah, all right.
Just dead and dirty there.
Look at all these notes.
Yeah, copious.
Jeez. I'm going to take the Saints as well, but I don't feel good about it for the reasons you mentioned. And this is what happens, not to throw a pity party for us, but when you try to make these picks on a Tuesday, and you have no idea whether, Marshawn Lattimore is one of the top, 10 cornerbacks in the league already now? I mean, what a great pick by them.
What a draft. What a draft
yeah,
by them.
Yeah, with him and Kamara, yeah.
Lattimore.
I mean, they get him at 11. That seems like a steal now. So we don't know if he's going to play. Don't know if Ken Crawley's going to play. The Okafor loss hurts them big time, and that's a guy who he makes the job of Lattimore and Crawley, guys like that, easier when you're getting the pass rush. But I was thinking about this. Maybe it's better against Cam Newton if you take a more conservative pass rush approach. Keep him in the pocket. Like, let him just stay there, go through his reads, and then throw a ball off a guy's heel. Like, maybe they're better off, the defense, without putting pressure on him. Just spy him all game. Don't let him get him out of the pocket, and just make him sit back there and be a passer. He's not a very good passer of the football. It is what it is. Carolina, I thought this was an interesting thing. I was reading up on this earlier. They have this thing they call it dirty eyes, and they don't want dirty eyes on defense. It's when you start looking in the backfield, you start falling for fakes, you start falling for pump fakes, falling for misdirection. Nobody's better at that, I think, in the NFL than Drew Brees, and we saw that. You talked about what was it, week 2 or week 3, where they kind of tore him up. The Jets did a lot to them last week, and the Jets moved the ball pretty well against Carolina. I expect that to be another issue for Carolina again this week. I think you're going to see a lot of the pump fakes. You're going to see a lot of misdirection, especially when you have 2 running backs who can catch the football. You can do a lot of different things. I think there's just too many weapons there for the Saints to combat, or excuse me, for the Panthers to combat. I think there's going to be a lot of points scored in this game, but a late score it helps New Orleans cover this one. So I'll take the Saints with laying the 4.5.
I think you're right. I think it is going to be a late score. I'm just banging on it being a field goal.
Yeah.
I can see Carolina dropping 4 of their last 5 games. I was looking at their schedule.
Yeah, and then that was they still have a game as a Packers. I know they play Green Bay. That could be Aaron Rodgers' first game back. That could be a tough one as well.
And then they finish off at Atlanta.
They got an
Their
Atlanta
only
game mixed
slam
in there
dunk,
too, yep.
and it's not even a slam dunk. It's a division game. It's the Bucks.
Yep.
Packers.
Which?
Carolina. They're going to lose 4 of their last 5 games and finish 9-7, miss the playoffs.
For as good as that division looks, everybody could kind of limp across.
No pun intended, given the Michael Vick Falcons connection, but that's going to be a dogfight down the stretch. I think it's going to be. And all those teams play each other still too. It's going to be. I think that's the best division race left in football. Yeah. So it'll be fun to watch.
Sterling Moore playing for the Saints last week? Sterling Moore.
You need a guy who had that bat in the AFC Championship against the Ravens.
Sterling Moore.
Playing opposite Julian Edelman in the Patriots secondary.
That feels like it was 15 years ago.
Yep, it was 15 years ago, I think.
Well, that's still in essence.
Not quite. Yeah, I was going to say. Well, that still could have been. Anyway, so this is a Sunday night, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Eagles Seahawks is not Sunday night.
Getting old, man.
You sure?
Getting old quick.
No, I think they have a Steelers Ravens Sunday night. No, that's next week. Sorry, that's week 4.
So yeah, it is Sunday night. You should probably look that up. Yes, it is, because actually the Seahawks are a very good team at home in prime time. They will host the Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles, I'm starting to believe in, which is not a crazy thing to say, but it feels like they just kick the hell out of whoever they play. I mean, you and I we took the Bears in the Super Contest this week, thinking the Bears.
I loved that pick.
You even mentioned that you think the Bears could have knocked them off.
I loved that pick going in.
Me too.
So
we all picked.
We all picked the Bears to cover that spread, and they just never even gave the Bears a chance. I'm like the last guy to come around the Eagles. Everybody should start fading me on Eagles. Right.
Same here.
Me too. Yeah, I'm the same way. And again, I think we'll get into it a little bit more here, but the Eagles are.
None of us have come around on them yet.
But hey. There's more.
We're all taking the Seahawks.
Yeah, spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
There's more to this. I guess all 3 of us can try to explain our story. So Ricky, why don't you start it off? The Eagles here are 5-point road favorites against the Seahawks.
I guess a couple things here. First of all, I know it's so hard to look back, and it's because it's a matter of when you play teams rather than who you play. Because I look at they haven't beat a team they beat one team with a winning record. That was the Panthers on Thursday night in Week 6. Yeah. So they're beating the crap out of all these teams, but also beating the crap out of some bad teams. And I kind of want it. I know I shouldn't penalize a team for winning by 20-something points, but I do want to see them win a game.
You should not. No.
I do want to see them win a game, get into a grind it out type of win, because I think this is the type of game this could be. And, on the road in Seattle in prime time, they've always played well in prime time. So in spite of the injuries, I just think that if you're giving me that many points, this is the first time they're home underdogs. Since 2012?
2012.
The biggest home underdog they've been in the Russell Wilson era. So I'm taking the Seahawks, and I don't feel great about it because of all their injuries, especially on defense going up against this Eagles offense. But I just think if it gets into a situation where it's one possession or the Eagles are trailing late, I don't know. I don't know if I trust them yet to come up with the big play. And also, I don't know if they're getting a little complacent, but that was the very. I know they blew the doors off the Bears. There was some sloppiness involved there. Fumbled a few times, 12 penalties. You do that against a good team.
Seattle is very penalized, though.
It's
doing a lot of dancing.
Yeah, get the
I also do think that, I don't know, look, all the numbers point towards the Eagles. I'm not going to spit numbers at y'all because this one number blew my mind. In the last 4 weeks, the Eagles' yards per play differential is nearly 3 yards. It's unbelievably good. But I'm still going with the Seahawks for most of the reasons why I mentioned. But I'm also looking at Russell Wilson this year. I've always been critical of Russell Wilson as the type of quarterback that he's been sheltered, doesn't really throw the ball that many times. Many times you look at, in his first 3 or 4 years, you looked at his pass attempts numbers. He was always in the bottom of the league. He had a good defense, great running attack. He leads the league in pass attempts this year. He is putting the team on his shoulders. He doesn't have a running game. He has a banged-up secondary. The guy has 23 touchdowns and 8 picks, most pass attempts in the league. The guy he's a top 10, maybe even top 5 quarterback now in my eyes. And I would never, ever even dream of saying that.
I know. I've seen you argue this till you're blue in the face.
Oh, yeah. But I am believing the guy, and Russell Wilson is leading his pack of birds against another flock of birds, actually, Seahawks and Eagles, into his bird's nest in Seattle. And he's saying, you know what? This team nobody believes in us right now. They're 5-point underdogs at home against this upstart team. Must-win situation for the Seahawks in the tight NFC West race against they're still looking at whose house, Rams' house, on top of them in the NFC West standings. This is a type of, you've got to throw the numbers away, and I believe in the heart of Russell Wilson because he has heart. He's always had heart, but now he has the numbers to show it. That's a devastating combination: heart and numbers.
Wow. Yeah.
How do you follow that up?
I don't know.
I will note that an eagle is a superior bird to the Seahawks. If go based on strictly on birds.
Seriously, yeah. I'd be on-American to say otherwise. Yeah, what else is there to add? I don't know.
I thought you would add some trends here.
I know. The Seahawks defense. I mean, I know there's all the injuries. I still think they're decent.
Sure.
I mean, there's still talent out there. It's not like they're rolling out scrubs week after week.
They're unbelievable right now.
You got Bobby Wagner's having a sensational season.
Sorry,
Michael Bennett.
Yeah, of
so
course.
You got this guy's out there that can make plays. You got Earl Thomas back.
Can you say they're better coached as well with Pete Carroll over?
Yeah, I think. That's for now, especially.
Eagles might still win this game. I just think.
Yeah. No, it does, and it's for me. It's value, and I think there's more value in the Seahawks here. I will go through some of the trends.
OddsShark.
Philly. These are all from OddsShark. But Philly's 10-1 Seattle's 10-1 against the spread in his last 11 games as a home underdog. Again, say what you want about that stat. That doesn't go back too far, or it goes back farther than you want it to. Yeah. You know. But they're 23-9-2 against the spread in the last 34 as underdogs. They're very good in December. This is the time of year they turn things on. 21-5 against the spread in their last 26 games in December. And in prime time, 22-5-3 in their last 30 night games. I don't know what that says, but that's a lot of information that's hard to deny. I also love that we're on the right side of the public here. It looks like as of right now, 3/4 of the bets are coming in on the Eagles, so it's nice to be on the wrong side of the public. Usually that's where there's going to be some profit to be had. So again, the trends, the money all kind of points to the Seahawks here. I also like the fact that we haven't seen Philly be tested with that Jason Peters injury. Again, now you're going up against a team with a defense that has, for all of its warts this season, for all of its injuries, Seahawks still have the number 3 home sack percentage. They get after the quarterback at home. Now you're going up against a team that isn't, for as good as it is, isn't quite as good on the road and is now playing without its starting left tackle. I mean, I know they were without Peters this week, but I think you start to feel a little bit more on the road, especially against a defense like this.
And we've sat here and, we've made fun of the Seahawks offensive line ad nauseum. I mean, and for good reason. Russell Wilson is running around, for his life out there in most weeks. But on Sunday, it was just the 5th time in his career that he wasn't sacked. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I acknowledge that was against the 49ers defense that doesn't exactly get after the quarterback all that much.
Philly can.
But it was the first time that, you have Dwayne Brown and Luke Jekyll on the left side of that offensive line. So maybe something's clicking late. Just another thing.
I mean,
big trench game.
Seahawks offensive line has only allowed 26 sacks. That's middle of the road. I mean, they're not as bad as people say they are.
The quarterback's not a statue
they
either.
They don't pass the eye test.
They don't. But exactly. As Mike, I almost call you Mark Cole, just like I mixed up Mark Ingram. Mixing up my Marks and Mikes today. Their quarterback is not a statue.
He can get you move, and I imagine if that was Carson Palmer, he'd be sacked a few more times. But it is what it is.
All right, Carson Palmer.
Let's do locks and upsets. Let's start with locks, and let's start with Ricky.
My lock, and it might be my lock for like the foreseeable future as I move through here. It's the Patriots, 9-point favorites over the Bills. They're getting back to their old
Patriots
ways.
Bills game too.
Oh yeah, they're getting back to their old ways of not only winning games but covering the spread. I mean, they were like the safest bet in the league last year, almost the safest betting against the Browns. I always gotta get a good Brown shot in there when you can. And I just look at this historically speaking, going to Orchard Park, they've been good. 12 of the last 13 over there, and they light up the scoreboard every time they're there.
Yep.
I don't think 9 points is really anything to sneeze at. So
it feels like every single time for the last 5 or 6 years. I mean, especially in the Rex Ryan era, but now even the Bills aren't terrible. Every year, New England comes in, and the Bills are like, we got a little momentum going. We're feeling good about ourselves. We're still in the playoff hunt. We're putting people through flaming tables. We're revved up and ready to go, and then they get their asses kicked 35-17 or something like that. So I think I like that pick a lot.
And even though they're coming off that win against the Chiefs, I think we can all agree that the Chiefs have just been in a total nosedive, and I put a lot of that into the this. Rallying around Tyrod Taylor a little bit going into that game. So
you're right about that.
I felt that there was some
both of us picked the Chiefs, right?
No, I picked the Bills.
I picked the Chiefs.
That had an upset feel to it, but now it's like you kick them back down a notch.
Sure.
Put them through the flaming table, if you will.
I like that pick.
I'm going to take the Steelers to throw the Bengals through a flaming table. That's my lock of the week.
Thankfully, that's not show and tell. I think that would be, that would be an issue.
Just to run out of here, evacuate. 5.5-point favorites the Steelers are. Look, Cincinnati, you look at it face value, you say, oh, wow, they only allow 4.8 yards per play, third fewest in the league. They got a great defense. But guess what? They've ran the fewest offensive plays in the NFL, and they've ran the most defensive. They've been on defense for, how does that say? You don't run a defensive play. So they've had the most defensive plays.
They've been on the field for the most.
It's a lot of, and against the Steelers offense, if you're on that many times, they're gonna burn you.
Sure.
Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, we see what Antonio Brown has done, and he's just unbelievable lately. We saw him what he did on Sunday Night Football. We saw what he did last week, and Andy Dalton, last 5 games, 9 touchdowns, no picks. He's due for a pick. He's due for a bad game. There's no way that's going to hold up. Steelers are second in sacks. They've allowed the 4th fewest sacks. They're going to put some pressure on them, force them to make mistakes. Bengals 27th in turnover differential.
I think that Steelers defense makes a difference in that game, if anything else.
Yeah.
For my lock, I'm going to take the Bears as my lock, so that's where I'm at. You guys took all the good ones, and we did everything else. So I had to take the Bears. They are 4-point favorites.
I had a feeling you were going to take that game.
The 49ers.
You always take the most miserable game.
Yeah, well, why not? Who knows? It's
show them all love.
Yeah. 49ers, I don't know. I guess they're going to keep playing C.J. Beathard as long as he's healthy. I don't know if that's tanking for a better draft pick, or they don't want to pay Jimmy Garoppolo as much if they put him in. He plays well. I don't know either, but I'm just assuming Beathard's going to be under center. Chicago, much better team, and this is characteristic of a young team that's on the up and up. They are much better at home. They're 8-2-1 against the spread in their last 11 home games. They are actually we're talking point differential. They are +1 at home this year. They've scored 1 more point than they've given up at home. Whatever, sure. -76 on the road. So
that narrative was reaffirmed last week.
Right, exactly. The Bears might be the worst team in the NFL.
Yeah, they're inconsistent, so it feels like they're due for a bounce back here. 4 points kind of seems like a lot for the Bears against anybody, but I don't like that Niners team as much as I did at the start of the year. So it just feels like the Niners are kind of trying to suck as much as they can.
I could see Adrian Amos making a big defensive play there.
Yeah, you could. You could see that.
Upsets, Andre.
I'm going to go with the Redskins. I'm digging into Thursday night. Redskins, 1.5-point underdogs against the Cowboys. Dallas has just 2 touchdowns in the last 3 weeks. It's been a miserable watch. Actually, it was nice to see the Chargers beat the crap out of the Cowboys. I'm buying into the Chargers. Anyway, both of those touchdowns that the Cowboys have
buying
scored.
everybody over there.
Both of the Cowboys' touchdowns in the last 3 weeks have been rushing touchdowns. So you could blame the fact that Ezekiel Elliott's been out, but Dak Prescott, no touchdowns, 5 picks in the last 3 games. Where's Dak? This is who he is. We're learning what Dak is. He's reliant on a strong offensive line that's going to be banged up. Tyron Smith's banged up, and Zach Martin has a concussion. He's been relying on great running game. You see Zeke's out. And, Dak Prescott in his entire career, only 2 300-yard games in 26 games. That's an 8% 300-yard game percentage. I went back and I looked at Dallas's last quarterback, Tony Romo. How many 300 yards he's had? 46 300-yard games in 127 career games. That's 36%. This is who Dak is. He's maybe he's young, he'll get better, but right now this is who he is. He needs a supporting cast around him, and he just doesn't have anything right now because Zeke's suspended, offensive line's banged up, Sean Lee's banged up. He just doesn't have, and Kirk Cousins quietly putting on a solid year. We've talked about how the Redskins have had a tough schedule. They're better than what their record says they are.
Just before we get to, I just want to credit Bill Simmons' podcast for this, but do you guys remember who won Coach of the Year last year?
Jason
Garrett won Coach of the Year last year. Unbelievable. Also, Dak Prescott won the Rookie of the Year over Ezekiel Elliott. Neither of those make sense. You were right. You were right on Dak Prescott from the beginning. I'll give you credit for that. I thought of that this morning. It's just not the same player when he doesn't have those pieces around him. I mean, who is? But just maybe we blew a little too much smoke up his skirt last year.
Drew Brees, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, those guys are great quarterbacks without supporting pieces.
Tony
Romo.
Romo must have enjoyed himself on Thursday night. Anyway, what do you got?
He was so depressed. He was looking at the Cowboys' next 5 games. He's like, well, all they got to do is win like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they can make the playoffs.
But he's got his ugly face dance down or whatever he's doing.
It's good for him. He's enjoying retirement. Not as much as David Ortiz. I don't know if you guys saw his Instagram page. Did you see David Ortiz's Instagram? It was unbelievable.
Yeah, he's having a blast. Anyways, I'll take give me the Jets. 3.5-point underdogs over the Chiefs. Cool. Chiefs, as you mentioned, it hasn't been exactly smooth sailing for them in recent weeks. Jets, a team I like getting points at home. When they're at home and they're getting points, they've been good this season.
We said that last week.
5-1 against the spread at home.
They found, that was such a good pick.
Last field goal, too. It was like broken.
Look at this. That Chiefs offense has been miserable of late. It's something we kind of seen coming. I mean, going up against the Bills, I understand the Bills have had times this season where their defense looked legit, but they've had problems going into last week. And they managed to slow them down. So I think the Jets can keep this one close, keep it within a field goal.
Sure. I will take the Lions. They are 3-point road underdogs against Baltimore Ravens. Joe Flacco, I'm just going to run through this real quick. This is Joe Flacco's passer rating. Passer ratings for every game this season. 71, 97, 12, 64.6, 98.6, 48. No, it was just, I was emphasizing that 12 is a terrible passer rating. 48, 88, 107. He mixed in a good one. 74, 90, 72. Joe Flacco struggled this year, so I don't trust a quarterback is that inconsistent, whose floor has been that low. I also like that Detroit is on an extra long week here after playing Thursday, while Baltimore's on the short week. I'll take the points, I guess.
Can we just emphasize also that Joe Flacco on Monday night, he averaged 4.4 yards per attempt. You have running backs who average more yards per attempt on the ground. And
in theory, I feel like the Ravens should be the Vikings of the AFC. Like if they had a quarterback playing as well as Case Keenum.
I wonder how
good. Better. They forced so many turnovers.
Their defense has been legit.
Yeah, maybe. But how good has it been relative to competition?
That too. They beat up on bad teams.
Yeah, they play in the AFC North.
They've
had the South this year too, right? The AFC South. So,
what is their record now? 6-5.
Yeah, they'll probably be a playoff team.
They're probably going to sneak into the playoffs.
Yep. So they'll give the Patriots a tough game too.
If they were getting good quarterback play with as weak as the AFC is,
yeah, sure. I agree with that. To put them on the same level of the Vikings, though.
No, I mean, if you put them in the NFC, they're going to get steamrolled by a bunch of teams. But if they're in the AFC and they have a competent quarterback,
probably a team you don't want to play.
No.
So we're in the show and tell now, right?
You
want to go?
Yeah, I'll go first. Right. Yeah, sure. Okay. How about this? Look, I've been wrong many times in my life. I picked the Giants to go to the Super Bowl this year, but I also picked the Chargers to go to the AFC Championship.
You got the got a Chargers related thing.
Yeah, we always. Show and tell is always about the Chargers.
That's true. Yeah.
You got to find a way to get them in there.
They started off 0-4, and I still believe in them. You call them a bad team. You said, "Can we just stop talking about the Chargers every week?"
They were losing football games. They were a bad team at the time.
But they were missing field goals late in games and losing football games because of that.
Because Philip Rivers was turning the ball over. I'll be the first one to say they've turned it around. I believe in them now. They are a better team.
They've been playing well the whole time.
You just gotta.
And I bought this. This is a D because this D lights up too. But there's no batteries in this D. So you see these light bulbs?
I feel like we've used that.
I don't think we've used this before.
It's a lifeless D.
Anyway, but imagine this had batteries and it lit up. The Cleveland Browns D is gonna get lit up by Philip Rivers and the Los Angeles Chargers this week. 13.5-point favorites. I will swallow all those points. And I think the Chargers, they just might run the tables. They have a very favorable schedule. They got this big game against the Chiefs in Week 15. That might be the propel them to the top of the AFC West.
Awesome, by the way.
Go ahead. Tell us what you got.
Well, no. You have anything else?
No. I feel like you're gonna add on to the Chargers.
I was just gonna add to the Chargers here and say that I gotta get Eclipse because I think that they have officially eclipsed the Chiefs as the team that's gonna be coming out of that AFC West.
I like
the Chiefs here. They big sun. They were just shining bright on offense, and then all of a sudden we're seeing their fatal flaw here, which is. Once you slow down they had all these explosive plays in the beginning. They were very creative offense. And now they start to take that away. And all of a sudden, they just look like a mediocre team, mediocre offense. I like the Chargers. I think you can rely on more things from the Chargers on a week-to-week basis. They have the defense, as you mentioned. They're not giving the football away. They're taking the football away. There's a lot to like about this Chargers team. And the talent level's always been there. Finally.
Did you wear those eclipse glasses during the solar eclipse a few months ago?
I didn't look at the solar eclipses. It just didn't interest me all that much.
Yeah, it's just
it's
two things that are always
for me. But I do have the souvenir that I knew would come in the play here and show and tell at some point.
Is that why you got it? So you can use it show and tell at some point?
Yeah, that's why you hang on a lot of crap that I have on my desk.
All right.
Why the hell do you have a big D? Show and tell's gonna come up at some point.
I brought a lug nut here. I don't know where
NASCAR season.
This is this is a lug nut, and I am actually depressed about the fact that NASCAR is no longer on.
Martin Truex.
Yes, it's just it's a great thing. Talk about nap things Sunday afternoon, watching the race. But I got a lug nut. A lot of race teams located in Charlotte. Just about everyone except for Furniture Row Racing and Martin Truex Jr. You get a lot of these lug nuts at a pit stop. We could use a pit stop right now. We kind of talked about it already. Cam Newton and that Panthers team. If they could just find a way to make some alterations to little Cam, get him back. I talked, do some little extra air in the right front tire. Maybe give a track bar adjustment. A few things like that, get him back into MVP form. This team would be a legitimate Super Bowl contender. Again, I talked about earlier. He went 11 of 28. They still scored 35 points. That's unbelievable. But his last 6 games, he's completing 54.6% of his passes. That would be 34th among qualified quarterbacks. 6 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. 68.8% or 68.8 passer rating. That would be 35th among qualified quarterbacks. And those numbers would look a lot worse if they didn't lay the smackdown against a crappy Miami team on a Monday night. A game where Cam was feeling himself, strutting around like he was God's gift to football. That team, he's going to cost them their entire season.
When Colin Cowherd was making his rant, was he saying that's pro Cam or?
He was saying, it was actually an interesting thought that I hadn't really thought about. How good they must be to be able to win in spite of him. Like this is a good.
Is that what he was saying?
Yeah.
Carolina's good or Cam is good?
Carolina's good and Cam sucks. Okay. That's how good they must be to overcome that quarterback.
Yeah. No, that's true. I thought their defense was aging.
Yeah, Kuechly is like he could. You talk about people who are like perennial MVP contenders. He could be a defensive MVP every year. When he gets hurt, they suck. When he's good, when he's on the field, they're good. Same kind of like a Sean Lee or something. Yeah. All right, that's it for us, I guess, this week. It was a long show. I feel like
it was good to be.
It's just, I tell you what, I'm feeling better about football.
You can see the eclipse out.
We've got a couple good weeks coming up.
This is mentioned week 15.
Week 15 is gonna be fantastic.
Chargers, Chiefs, and then Patriots, Steelers. Also that.
I think next week you got a good Thursday night game too with the Saints and the Falcons.
Yep, that's right. So. football finally starting to not suck. So keep coming back. We'll be back again next week. Yeah. So thanks guys for joining us this week. Thanks for joining us every week. Hopefully we'll see you again next week. Later.